Alright, welcome back. In this project, welcome back. In this part, we will have a look at the CRUD functionality for books through the API. So we'll create the endpoints for creating, reading, deleting, and updating books in our app. And we can see that these are already prepared. Technically, we don't actually have to do updates at all because they haven't prepared that. But you probably wanna make updates to books. We're actually not gonna do that. So this app is a bit strange in the sense that in order to update a book in this application, you will need to delete it and add it again. So you better make it right the first time. And of course, if we want to make it properly, we can do that, but that's not part of the application, so I'm not actually going to do it. I'm going to do the application as it's supposed to be made. And we're going to go ahead and start up here and replace these. So we go const there. So we get this one. I don't think we need that really in this file, but anyway, we want to have Mongo client, and it's important that we actually have Mongo clients, not just Mongo. We want to have the object ID, and this one I don't care about, so I'm just going to remove these 2 lines. The first one we're going to do is the get call, and I think I said that in another video, but it's technically easier to do the post call first, because once you've done the post, you've done the hard part. It's a lot easier to get stuff or delete stuff than it is to post stuff. But we'll start with the get, and I'm actually going to go ahead and rewrite these functions in here because I want to. So we're going to go ahead and make these arrow functions, and I see that the first one there is going to be a bit iffy. Yeah, let's not do it like that. Let's do it like this. Obviously, you can use normal functions as well. I just prefer arrow functions, and since I can use them here, I'm going to do that. Like so. Right, we need more parentheses. So, yeah. And with that, we can have a look at these. We're gonna save these for later. But these 3 are the ones we're gonna do in this video. And if you go ahead and have a look here, we can see that they say that we will have a response that will be an array of book objects that will look something like this. And this is kind of helpful when you do this the first time, just to get an idea of what it's supposed to look like, because it's something that you may or may not have to guess about otherwise, and it's a bit annoying. So in here, we'll actually go ahead and connect our Mongo client first. I'm actually going to remove that because it's just cluttering everything. So in here, we go from Mongo client .connect, and here we're connecting through our connection string. So Mongo URI for me, and we're going to have to do this: use unified topology and use new URL parser. We'll set those to true as well. So, and then we'll go for error and client. And if we have an error, then we just console error, and we do a client.close, because if we get that error, we don't want to go off. Pretty much. Yeah, if we don't get an error, then we can actually go ahead and console log client just to get a look at that. Console client is not right. Console log client is actually what I want to do, like so. And then we can go ahead and create a constant called collection, and there store client.db. And mine is called personal library for this one. Really creative. And in that I have a collection of books. And down here then we'll since this is a GET request, we can go for a collection here, and we'll go for a collection.find and to array. And by doing that, we get that array that we should get. And in here, we have an error or data that we can get back. And if we have that error, then we just console log, console error, error. And if we don't have an error, then we can actually go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna error when searching database, just to have an idea of what the error is from. And then we'll respond, and we want to respond with JSON, and then we want to have data. So if this works correctly, we should find whatever books we have in the database, and we'll make all of those to an array and respond with JSON. And hopefully that works. I may actually be able to try this out, since I should have books in the database. Let's have a look. If I go for a Did we miss something? Maybe. Let's see. No. Try this again. Is there a start tab? No. Oh well, skip that. There you go. So, since I've already done this project, I have some books in my database. If you're doing this, you probably don't. I found out what happens when you don't do the test properly. So I have a lot of this. I could remove that, but I thought it was funny, so I kept it. Anyway, I can get a lot of books by just going to API/books. So that means that that actually works. If I want to add a book, then I need to go down to the post part here. And now they've been pretty nice to us and prepared a rected body.title, which we don't really want to use. I kind of want to use it, but I want to use it in this way. So if rected body.title dot length is greater than 0, and this is just a sort of check in a sense, because you don't want to add a book to the library that's an empty string, because it's going to be really difficult to find since it's an empty string. But if the book has one letter, then it's technically good enough for us to add to the library. So in here we just go for the standard Mongo client.connect, and we're connecting to our database, so post.env.mongo URI, and we need to use unified topology, and we need to use URL parser. And in here we have error and client. And if we get an error, then we just go ahead and console error that error, and we do a client.close. If you don't get an error, then that's good. Then we can continue, and we'll just go for a const collection equals client.db of personal library underscore library dot collection books, because this is the one we want to add to them. And in here, I like to do a sort of check before adding the book. Technically, we don't need to do that for the project, but I want to do that anyway. And this check is just to see that the book doesn't exist already. So collection.count documents of title, we have rect.body.title. So we just check in the database to see if the title already exists. Because if it does, we don't want to add it again, because that would be dumb. So here we can have an error or data. And if we get an error, we just console error, like so. We should not get an error here. If we get to this part, we should not get an error really. Unless we have a character that doesn't work or something like that. I don't know. Otherwise, if we don't get an error here, we can do an else if data is greater than 0, then it means that the book exists, and that's not good. So we go for rest.send a book with that title is already in the library. We don't want to add duplicates. In a real library, you can have duplicates of the same book, but then you don't actually have multiple instances of that book, multiple count of that book. So that's still correct. That is not really correct English though, is it? So, anyway, we can also have an else here, and else is obviously if the book is not in the library and we don't have an error. So in here we can go for a collection.insert1, which is a MongoDB function. And in here we'll insert a title, rect.body.title, and we'll add an empty array with comments. We won't do anything with this right now, but we'll do it in the next part. And we're preparing that with an empty array so that from the beginning we don't have any comments on the book. We could just add something here, but we don't want to do that. And we just want to have this empty array so that we can pass in comments later on. And we can obviously still have this error, and we have data. So if we get an error, we do a console.error. And we actually want to do error when trying to add a book to the database. So, and otherwise, we just go for rest.json, and here we do data of OPS 0, and I showed this in the last video. The reason we go for the 0 here is because this OPS is a huge object that we really don't want to write out to the screen and use all of. So we just use the first instance of it. And let's see, yeah, here. And here we actually want to continue our if statement. So here we go. If the this is what's needed to add a book to the database, but since this if statement is actually checking for something, obviously it's checking that the title is greater than 0, we should have an else here. What happens if the book is not greater than the book title is not greater than 0, i.e. it doesn't exist? Then we just do a rest.send, and we politely tell the user that you need to enter a title for the book, and then some profanity, because that should be obvious to anyone. And with that, we should be able to post a book. So if we restart this, and go here, reload, and here I could do something like just book, maybe. Let's do that. And when we post it like that, this is why I think you should look through the Ajax calls. But the reason we get this here is because we have an Ajax call doing this for us. So if you post a book to the API endpoint, we'll get to see that one book. But if I reload this page, actually I'll go back and I'll go to the endpoint like this, I should get the whole list, which I do. I get this test book as well, so I can see that it works. We have one more. I should be able to delete. And we have that down there. And for this one, I should be, this is a bit strange, I think. But in theory, I should be able to delete all books in my database. And you really don't want to do that, I think. So this is a bit dangerous to have, but I guess we should have that. What you really want to do is this 7, where you just delete one book if you have the ID. That would be the smart part. But we'll add both. So in the delete here, we'll have a Mongo client connect as usual, and we'll connect to our process.env.mongo URI, and we will have the use new URL parser true and use unified topology true, and in here we'll go for error and client, and if we get an error, we handle that somehow by doing this. Oops. Like so, and client are closed. I think we actually do that here. We did, very good. Yeah, and if we don't get an error, then we can just continue. So const collection equals client.db for personal library dot collection books, and here we want 2 functions really. I think, wait, let's have a look. Wait. I am confused. Did I not do this correctly? Okay. I think I haven't done. Wonder if the tests actually worked then, but they should work. I am looking at my code and I can see that I haven't done any case for a single book deletion. I've only done one for delete many, and delete many obviously deletes many. So here we go for an empty object, and we do error and data, and if error, then we do rest.send failed to delete books, and if we don't get that, we do a rest.send complete delete successful, which is what we should have. We can see that here. We should have complete delete successful. It's a bit of a weird sentence, but that's what we should have. This one though should also be in here. I don't know why you don't have that. It's weird. I should just be able to do let's see. let's get back to that. I think I'll do that in the next video. I'm just gonna have to have a look at what's happening here. Anyway, with this code, we have the ability to get books, we can post new books, and we can actually delete all books. So in the next part, I'll just go through the missing part of this, I think, and we'll go through this part as well, where we add and delete comments. Oh, wait. Yeah, exactly. So I'll see you then.